Hi guys, welcome to another video from Heel and Toe. We are in California, in Los Angeles, one of the first videos from here. And today we have a pretty special video in store for my close friends Nikita and Elia. Some of you may know him or them, and we've done a couple of videos with them before, but it's been a while since I've seen them and their latest work, and they have made a lot of progress. So let's take a look what we have in store. Hey! Whoa! Oh there, what's going on? Why do you have my dog? So quick introduction, who are you and what is Oilstainlab?
My name is Ilya Bryden, and I'm co-founder of Oilstainlab. And I'm his twin brother, Nikita Bryden, and yeah, we run Oilstain together. Oilstainlab started as a design consultancy, and now it's moving into sort of boutique car building dreams, making cool shit happen.
And cool shit is, for example, this thing back here. Which has certainly made its rounds on the internet, huh?
It's gotten pretty famous, yeah. Yeah, it's probably the one we're most well known for now, you know, the 1/211. It's our business card.
I would say so. I mean, I think the last time I saw you guys was, I don't know, 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago. This was, I think I saw the first cardboard mock-ups in your garage.
Yeah.
With like a cut-off 911 frame and a piece of cardboard, and I was like, there's no way this is happening, and here we are. And it's there. So how long has this been in the works, and what's the basic idea of it?
So yeah, I mean, it's like you sort of mentioned, I think we've been going at it for about 3 years. The idea was a little bit earlier, probably 4 or 5 years ago, when we had sort of this idea to build this crazy 911 variant derivative. And then yeah, we just started building out the story, the whole fake history element of it, figuring out how to package it, how to build it, what motor to use, all the details. And yeah, the last 3 years we've been sort of making it real, and now it's finally driving on the street.
And it's street legal, right?
It is street legal, yeah.
Crazy to believe.
For Europeans, yes. In America, you know, it's a little easier.
I mean, to make it street legal, what does it need? It basically needs a VIN of original car.
Yeah, I mean, headlights, taillights. If you don't have a windscreen, you just have to have a helmet. So when you drive it, you have to wear a helmet.
Okay.
But yeah, basically it's a VIN. It's based on a 66 912. So
since we're in California and it being a pre-75?
Yeah, no emissions or anything. So super easy.
Does that mean it's basically straight piped?
Oh yeah.
It is straight piped. Not basically, it is straight piped. I was doing a little, like a wink behind it. Is it straight piped? Oh, it is straight piped. Yeah. So let's kind of run through it. I mean, what's the idea? What I've read and heard a lot is cutting it in half, and obviously 1/211. So I feel like that's the main essence of this car. Can you explain a bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, way back when we got a really short or cheap Porsche tub, and we've obviously had a few 911s, as you can see around here. So we were thinking what to do with it, and then this guy over here came up with a brilliant sketch of a F1 car attached to the front half of a 911. And yeah, he brought it home one day, like really happy with himself. He's like, look what I did. And yeah, we both agreed that was what we should pursue. Yeah, so yeah, in essence, about 3 years ago, we cut a 911 tub in half and went to town with a team of fabricators, engineers, everybody, to sort of figure out how to make this 1960s Can-Am dream come true.
Yeah, right? I think a good point, or to bring up there, I mean, both of you guys are car designers, so you aren't necessarily born engineers or whatever. Your experience and your craftsmanship is car design, right? You seem a bit unsure. You're looking at each other. Are we?
Is that what? Yeah, I guess. That's what they paid us to do.
Can we talk a bit about that? So where have you guys like been since your career last?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we've been car designers for 10 something years. Obviously graduated from Art Center up in Pasadena here in California.
Went to school in Italy too.
Italy as well.
Nice, yeah.
And then worked for a bunch of OEMs. Toyota was first. We worked there together. After that, we both went to Honda. Worked at Honda for 3 years together. And then you left. I stayed for another 3 years. And did a bunch of work, concept cars, production cars, race cars, everything
Nice.
in between. And then I went to Hyundai Genesis and had absolutely horrible time. So after 5 months, I quit. And ended up at General Motors Advanced Design for 4 years.
Nice.
Did a show car there, and then ended up joining him at GAC for a bit, which is a Chinese company. They have an advanced design studio here. And then after that, basically been doing a bunch of freelance stuff and working with small startups, and now full-time at Oilstain. After GAC, I went to Canoe. That's where I currently work, as well as all the Oilstain stuff as well. So.
Nice. And during all of that, you guys built cars, old cars, worked on old cars, and I think that's a good point to mention. You've had some experience with 911s. You have the Marlboro, which has been on this channel. There will be a link to the video. Then in the meantime, I remember seeing the RSR build like halfway in your garage in your home.
Yep.
That's finished, if you can ever call a car finished. Your guys' beautiful studio. Quick run through. This is where everything happens: designing, building, hanging out.
Some building, not all the building. This was definitely not built here. But yeah, we do a lot of design work upstairs. But yeah, we have welding, we have all the tools here.
Nice.
Planning to put a lift in soon. So it's our man cave / design studio.
All right, so basically we're here for the 11:30. Let's take a look at it. Let's take a walk around.
Yeah.
What's it made of?
What's it made of?
It's hand-formed aluminum, so hand-beaten. Just made over a course of probably 2 years. Just different machines, English wheels, planishing hammers, lots and lots of blood, sweat, and tears in that.
Crazy. I mean, it's like those old coach-built cars. There's no seam. There's no, today's cars are plastic and different panels and spot welds and all this, and this is just looks like one piece, but it's probably a few more.
Yeah, I mean, right now it's one piece, so the entire front all the way to the rear fenders comes off as one piece.
Wow.
And then the rockers are the only portion of the car that's like semi-permanently attached to the chassis.
So you could basically remove the shell and still drive it as a chassis.
Yeah, exactly. And that's how we've run it on track so far, because we just don't want to damage the body.
Got it. In case something goes wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
That means basically this is like, like in the car industry, the prototypes are like worth millions because they're all hand built. This is the $1 million
yes.
shell in terms of working hours and everything that's going
Way
into
too
it.
many hours in it.
Yeah.
That's
And it weighs probably 50 pounds?
The entire body is probably 50 pounds.
Wow, which in kilograms is like
30, yeah.
30, 40?
Yeah, 28 something. Yeah.
Just not much. Crazy. Well, it's beautiful. I have to say, on all the images, I thought the car was going to be at least 1.2, 3, 4 times bigger or something. It just has such a stance and like presence, and it's positively surprisingly small, which is nice.
Yeah, in photos it is really hard to tell scale on this thing, just because it is so low.
Yeah,
it's unexpected.
And you guys did a lot of photoshopping and making people believe this thing raced in Le Mans, and
It's all real, man.
it's all real. We've got the history books.
Real.
Okay, I mean, I guess what makes it recognizable to a 911 is probably, I don't even know if it's the wheelbase, but definitely the lights, what do you call them, cannons. That's about it.
Yeah, I mean, so for the front we used 2 911 fenders and a hood, and we actually kind of made a buck for this bodywork. So we made it over those shapes. The dashboard forward is, it is a 911 chassis, and so yeah, it should look like a 911 up front. The wheelbase has been stretched 10 10 inches, so 240 mil roughly.
Can you show me on the car, so which part is still 911 chassis and which is, where did you cut it?
So originally we cut it here.
Uh-huh.
And then the 911 chassis kept getting in the way, so we cut it here, and then it kept getting in the way, so we cut it here.
So what's left?
About here forward is 911 chassis.
Is there a percentage what still makes it count?
It's about a third now, but it's not as catchy as half 11, so we're not going to call it third 11. So it's remaining the half 11. But yeah, we use 911 steering rack. Although heavily customized, and then 911 suspension points, yeah, 935 style lower A-arms, obviously coilovers.
And the tub's been like sectioned.
Yeah, and then the tub has been, well,
yeah, it's basically been sectioned where the hood flange is and everything, so you could get it lower, because basically run into some interference with the bodywork, and then all seam welded and everything like that. So,
and the dashboard was moved down 120 millimeters.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's insane. Is your, I mean, we'll get to mechanics and modifications in a minute, but is your general idea to do things like period correct or period correct improvements or hot rod, if you can even call it that? But I mean, because I mean, you must have a frame within which you want to work. You know, you can go super modern, put in stuff 2022, but you're saying you're using a Porsche steering rack, or?
Yeah, well, I mean, for us, I think why we created the fake history in the first place was to ground us and to give us like constraints and boundaries that we couldn't really go past. Obviously, using a 911 tub, like we could have made a car from scratch, but we used the 911 tub to ground it. Same thing, because it gives you a challenge. We saw it as a chance to like put our stamp on that chassis platform, and you know, being as extreme as it is, it's our statement.
I mean, that's what it is at the end of the day, isn't it? It's a big fat statement, kind of. Very cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's we built a car that we dreamed about. We really wanted to build a 917, but just couldn't do it because it was always going to be a replica, and there's a stigma with that, and then what engine do you put in it, right? And so,
like all the 550 replicas, etc., etc.
Right.
In the end, we're designers. We're like, we'll just do something similar.
We'll make our own thing.
Exactly.
Makes sense. All right, so that's the exterior. We have a massive splitter on the front, which I'm guessing is fiberglass, or?
Yeah, so this is the first one that we made, so it's fiberglass. We are going to make a carbon fiber one, but we wanted to make sure we don't destroy this, and we did destroy it in Monterey.
True, you took it up to Pebble Beach this year.
We did, yeah.
Which is quite an achievement.
So at the end of an 80-mile drive after, you know, hauling ass down PCH, we had a cat's eye catch go into the radiator and destroy the diffuser very nicely. So it's now been rebuilt, but we're still testing it, or waiting to test it on track to see, you know, if our height is acceptable or not.
All right, that's an interesting point, because we're talking about exterior. How's it looking with aerodynamics? Are you guys doing simulations or testing? What's the process there?
Yeah, so we ran it through with a company, Race Car Aero, based out of Australia. Great
just around the corner.
And we didn't have any like performance targets, because again, in the 60s at Le Mans, no one knew what they were doing, and it actually turned out okay, because the diffuser has the geometry of sort of a modern GT3 R. And then we don't have them on the car, but the canards down here on the corners of the car, they're sort of these diplanes that take the air around the wheels. So that actually works out really well. The rear wing is non-functional.
Looks cool.
So it's much too low to really like work to fully work. Yeah,
it's
like
true.
It works.
I think this one would work better, because on the coupe, I think it would work worse.
Yeah.
This one, it probably works a little bit better.
Yeah.
Just because you got a lot more air going through there.
Isn't it also, don't you typically want a wing to be as far out and up from a car as possible for it to work?
Clean air.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But in the late 60s, they didn't really know.
Clean what? So we're smoking while driving, so.
I mean, the original 917 struggled with aero, right? They were horribly unstable and slow, and hence the long tails and all the evolutions.
Improvements. I think they had the same with the CLK, the Mercedes, which got airborne, and I think they increased the wheelbase or something like that, or the overhangs, I'm not sure.
Yeah, that was caused by really long front overhangs, and basically the center of downforce being kind of towards the back of the car, and then obviously on the Mulsanne they had the hill, and so that long overhang just...
Alright, so moving to the back, I love the side, what do you call it, the tub, or?
The rockers, fuselage.
Do you guys have inspiration for the design, or is it?
Not really.
Particularly, or
just
not?
That era, right?
Yeah, I think it's just the era. There's a lot of different vehicles that we studied. I don't know if there's anything specific. It just had to fit in the era.
Well, even the fuselage, right? Like the Jaguar E-Type, right?
True.
Cars that kind of roll under. They don't exist anymore because it's not the greatest for, covering wheels, aero, rock chips, all that stuff that we've learned.
I mean, this is also the era before like flat body sides and racing and stuff like that. So there's still suction and fenders.
So I handled kind of this portion back here, and we worked very closely with Joe Scarbo at Scarbo Engineering. He's a heck of an engineer, but he loves to make ugly structures. So, and I like to make pretty structures, but ones that have a lot of dead tubes and aren't particularly strong.
So it's the typical fight between engineer and design. It's like, make it functional, no, make it pretty, and then you meet in the middle somewhere.
More or less, yes. So I actually built this tube structure about 30 times in CAD and ran like FEA analysis on it myself, just to figure out what's kind of strong and what isn't, and kind of bulked it all together. And then, we gave it to Joe. He came back with a few tweaks, but it wasn't dramatically different. It wasn't necessarily driven so much for like cost or complexity like it is in the OEM space, so we could get away with more. Loved working with Joe on this because I think it turned out cool, and it's actually strong and it works.
It works. All right, I think that's a good point to transition to the engine. What do we have?
Probably the most controversial part of this car. We live in America, and we decided to to put in America's greatest engine here.
Let me guess, it starts with an L and ends with an S.
It is, So we agonized over motors, absolutely agonized. We really wanted to use a Porsche motor. We tried looking at the V8s from the 928. The LS is incredibly compact, and in the future, if we make more of these, we're going to use air-cooled 6s or water-cooled 6s. So this actually is about the same size and weight. It allows us to check for water plumbing and all that good stuff, and then we can get just an insane amount of torque out of it to test the chassis, test drivability. So this car, it runs pump gas, 91 octane.
Nice. That's an advantage of that. Just
650 horse, 650 pound-feet of torque. It revs out to 8,500 RPM, but we've redlined it at 75, so we cap it.
That's pretty high for a V8, isn't it? I mean, typically the American V8s are a little sluggisher and slower.
So I mean, this doesn't really have anything to do with the stock LS. It's all aluminum. It's got a dry sump. It's got individual throttle bodies.
Wow.
For us, the sound is really important, and so that's really its RPM. We didn't have a target for horsepower. Didn't have a target for. We had an RPM target. Usually that makes a lot of power.
RPM means power. I mean, I think one of the most spectacular parts are the 8-into-2 headers we have here. That could be a sculpture, a piece of art in its own. That's incredible.
I mean, you handled the design of those?
Yeah, that took about 18 months to develop. So it's kind of crazy. The whole exhaust system is completely 3D printed.
What?
At an Inconel. It's like a special metal alloy that's basically used in Formula One or really, really high-end, crazy exhaust systems. Like all the Mercedeses with like the Pagani sounding, that's all Inconel. At the start, what we really wanted was a bundle of snakes, like super old school look, right?
Yeah.
And we wanted to work with like an old guy that would like sand bend and do all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
But then the more we designed it and the more we saw our tolerances, we're just like, there's no way he's going to be that precise. Like you need millimeter precision. And so we went the 3D printing route. And yeah, the couple interesting things. They're all equal length headers, and they go into a spiral firing order in each collector. So they fire in a circular fashion.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
So
you consider the firing order of the cylinders to get fucking hell. Yeah. So does that equal just an amazing sound, or?
Yeah, just a little clearer, and it's supposed to clean up the airflow out of the collector as well.
That's fantastic.
And then the section actually of the pipes, starting where the port exit is, it's actually a D section, which is the shape of the port, and then it blends to a circle as it gets to the collector. So it's a variable section, and that can, of course, can only be done with 3D printing.
I was gonna say, this is something that you can only do in 3D.
Yeah.
There's no other way.
We used at the time, there was only 2 machines in the world, and it's DLM, so it's actually a liquid molten pool of metal that's being used.
Wow.
And it's Memotechnic here in Torrance. They do NASA, space, everything's behind big NDA contracts. So they jumped at the chance to work with us, and they could show it off. It's a combination of like old school hand beaten crap and the highest tech that you can get.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very, very nice. All right, so we've covered that. What's the gearbox sitting behind the engine?
We are running a 996 Porsche GT2 box, flipped upside down for the mid-engine application. So the internals are flipped.
Wow.
So it's a 6-speed.
So it's going to be nice and tight and snug.
It shifts okay. It has to use basically a cable shift.
Okay.
So it's not exactly the same.
Yeah.
It's a little bit different, but yeah.
Nice.
Should give us a top speed of like, who knows, 220,
Jesus Christ. What suspension have we got? I see Erlins.
Yeah, they're TTX 40s out of actually an IndyCar.
Wow.
So we fell in love with how small they are and how compact they are. And we basically designed the entire rear suspension around them. They're obviously crazy expensive.
The only existing part.
Yeah, it was interesting when we talked to the engineers. They said like, oh, probably it's pretty close to an Indy car because similar weight, similar distribution.
True. Weight distribution.
Yeah.
Do you have a weight distribution on this? Do you know what?
It's 54/46.
Pretty damn good.
Yeah, pretty solid.
Let's move to the interior. I see a Porsche dashboard, at least instrument panel-ish.
It is 911 derived, and those 5 round gauges are super iconic. So, we wanted to keep that, but reinvent it. And since we got rid of the entire dashboard and structure and everything, we had to figure out how to hang it. So we came up with this sort of floating binnacle design.
Nice. I like it because it celebrates the instruments. It's really a standout feature. It's really nice.
It's really all we have.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, simplicity. I mean.
But yeah, very simple, very pure.
Very, very, very cool. Well, thank you for the extensive tour and explanation of what is a car which raises a lot of question marks, but
yes.
Once getting close to it, your eyeballs fall out because you're just amazed at what's going on here. So let's briefly touch on future plans. I know I've talked to you guys about you want to make a coupe version and you want to kind of make an iteration 2.0.
Yeah, so this car will continue developing. It'll become a coupe with windows.
Our personal prototype, right?
Yeah, so this is our personal prototype, and then we're in process developing a more finished version, I guess, for production. So
nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Learning from all our mistakes. Yeah.
Hey, well, mistakes are necessary. So
yes.
Okay. Well, massive thank you, Nikita and Aliyah. Thanks for the time. Thanks for the explanation. Really cool to see this, and I hope next time we can see it driving and moving and hear the engine maybe.
Let's do it.
Yeah. All right. Sounds good. I'll see you guys next time. Yeah.
See ya.
Bye.
Cheers.